Hi everybody. I am making this video because it's going to be a review of the Danganronpa 3, The End of Hope's Peak Academy, Despair Arc, Episode 2. Usually I write these out, and all my other reviews are going to be in the description, but I was just feeling lazy, and I didn't feel like writing anything else, so I'm making a video instead, because I can talk a lot better than I can write a lot of the time, especially when I'm feeling lazy. So let's get this started. Alright, so the episode starts out with Chisa talking to Koichi, and they're just talking about how Chisa's doing a pretty good job, I guess. And I like the little reference that they made to Celestia with Koichi being the scout going out to find her. So, because I like Celestia a lot. Celestia is one of my favorite characters just because of how she acts and she is and everything. So I like that little connection to the first game and everything. And I also found it kind of interesting that Koichi, even though he's just a teacher technically, that even he has a reaction that seems to imply that even the teachers don't want to be connected to the reserve force, which is whenever he says like, don't let them get too out of hand, or else they might make us reserve force teachers. So I just thought that was interesting that even the teachers at Hope Sick Academy have like qualms with the reserve force and everything. But so the episode continues by Chisa getting a call on her phone from the teacher that is watching the class at that moment. And she's just saying that she can't handle the class because apparently, as we find out whenever Chisa gets there, Akane and Nekomaru are fighting. And so whenever they get there, the teacher is fainted on the ground. Which I also noticed with that teacher that she had the same jacket on, or a very similar jacket as Asahina had. And I don't know if this means anything, like if they're related or connected in some way, or if it was just some way to like twist the knife from last episode. Because I'm still not over it. It's been like 4 days and I'm still not over it. So I don't know what the reason for that was, but that's just something that I noticed. It might have just been coincidence, but I don't trust anything that happens in Danganronpa, frankly, because they will f you, and that's has been made pretty obvious. So we also find out that Teruteru and Seiko have some kind of relationship because he mentions that the soups that he made, the soup that he gives Akane, he made it with the ultimate pharmacist. So that tells us that the class of, was it 74 or 76? One of those classes. I think it might have been 76. I don't know, I should have looked it up. But it's one of those classes, but it shows that those classes at least were in Hope's Peak Academy around the same time. Unless Seiko just happens to have an outside relationship with Teruteru, which would be highly unlikely. But, so I just wonder if that doesn't play into why the blacksmith guy and the candy girl, whose names I did not remember from the future arc, if that doesn't have to play into why they don't trust her as much. So after that, after they're fighting and causing chaos and whatever, Chiaki leaves the room and she encounters the ultimate imposter, who is disguised as Ryota right now. Which one thing that I find interesting about the ultimate imposter, and like I knew that in the second game he decided to impersonate Byakuya Togami, and like I like Togami and whatever, but he doesn't really have a talent per se. He's just kind of he was born to the right events, I guess, and probably gonna have people who are gonna be getting mad at me because of that. But he doesn't really have like I got uncomfortable. Sorry, he doesn't have like a talent that he can enact and like do and stuff. So I just find it interesting that in being Ryota, the ultimate imposter has acquired a talent for animation as well. So I just think it's really cool how even though his talent is becoming other people, he still like in every possible way becomes that person. He's just as talented as Ryota, I would assume, or else he wouldn't be there. But I also find it weird that he would decide to impersonate a person who is already a student of Hope Seek Academy, because you would think that would make people realize something, but I don't know. I don't know. So another thing that we find out, or that we that I noticed was that like Chiaki in the anime right now, she's a lot more outspoken and not quite as demure as game slash AI Chiaki, which I kind of like it. I kind of like that. I like Chiaki having more of a realistic and forceful personality as her actual self, as you can see in like her conversation with Chiso whenever she gets kind of defensive about her games. And after that, we are taken to a scene where Chisa is on the phone with Munakata. And what we find out in here in this conversation is that Chisa is there kind of investigating the reserve course because they have suspicions of like the true meaning of it. And so they mentioned that Chisa thinks that the funds for the reserve course is going to something hidden. And I also found it interesting that her and Munakata, they say that if this expansion school is successful, then they are going to rebuild Hope's Peak Academy as it should be. So I just think it's cool that they have this like ulterior motive of actually being at the school just to make it how they feel. So I wonder if they have like some plans for rebellion or I don't know, reforming the school in some way. I just found it interesting that they added this little subplot in, and it does kind of show that Chisa, even though she does kind of seem a little goofy and ditzy at sometimes, that she is really smart and she has all these, wow, my hair just went crazy, sorry. She does have all these serious plans about Hope's Peak Academy. Next up, we're treated to a scene where Chisa and Mahiru have a conversation in the hallway, and Mahiru is going off to have lunch with a friend from the reserve course who is heavily implied, which I did not notice until one of my friends on Tumblr pointed this out, that she was going off to talk to who is implied to be Sato from the Twilight Syndrome murder case from Chapter 2 of the second game. Which I think is like, that's really cool because I did like Chapter 2 a lot. That was one of my favorite chapters and trials and everything. So I like how they're setting into motion the Twilight Syndrome murder case, and it does show that we are probably going to hear something about it at that point later, but again, we're going to get to that. So then we're treated to a scene after she talks to Mahiru and everything, where Chisa goes to talk to Hajime, who is lounging about outside on his break time, and she goes to talk to him about the reserve course, and she's going to try to learn more about it, which is derailed because Hajime calls himself a lowly reserve course student, and she's like, no. So they have a conversation about that, and then she walks off. And so after as she's walking off, Kazuo Tengen, who is the former headmaster in Hope's Peak Academy, and who's also in the future arc, he comes in, and he says something along the lines of, she's still as lively as ever, which is just kind of like a little throwaway line. But it also does show that him and Chisa have some kind of previous relationship, which I don't know if that implies that he was headmaster whenever she was there, or if he's just heard about her or what. But that shows they have a relationship, which is kind of interesting. And so we also find out that Kazuo is an advisor to the school, and him and Hajime have a conversation about it's not directly said, but it's about the Izuru Kamakura project. And he says to him that he shouldn't really say it because he is an advisor to the school, and I think part of the steering committee, I think it's called. But then that he says that he does not support this project, and that he thinks that Hajime shouldn't join it, which I think is interesting that a lot of the people involved in the project, they don't support it anyways, which kind of makes sense. I mean, like, it's kind of an unethical project that they do, but after this, he proceeds to tell Hajime to not feel normalcy, which is kind of suspicious a little bit for him to say this, just because it's pretty much made clear that Hajime's biggest fear is to be normal. He doesn't want to be normal, which is why he went to all this trouble to be in Hope's Peak Academy in the first place. So I don't wonder if Tengen saying this was to exploit that fear, or if it was genuinely him saying that he shouldn't be afraid of just being a normal kid and being himself. So after this conversation, it cuts to a scene where the class of 77 is having a little video game day, and I thought it was a really cute scene. I really liked it a lot, with all them playing like all the little bootleg versions of Super Mario, not Super Mario, Super Smash Brothers and Mario Kart and stuff. That was funny. I liked it. So I liked how Gundam was playing as a hamster in that one game. And I also saw this pointed out that Gundam and Nekomaru going head to head playing the game is very similar to how they went head to head in chapter 4? Yeah, I think chapter 4 of the second game, and how they were like fighting, and it led to both of their ultimate demises eventually. So I like one of the things I wanted to point out about that scene too is I really found it really funny with the Mario Kart scene with Ibuki falling into the sea, because I feel for that. I'm really bad at Mario Kart. I just found it funny because it's very realistic, and I could very much identify with Ibuki in that moment falling to the sea and then Sayonji backing up and pushing her into the sea. I just like that little scene. And then after that, we were greeted to the scene, which I really did not want to do any kind of review over because it made me really, really uncomfortable. I'm a pretty shameless person, as can be seen by anything that I do ever. But this scene, like, I had to pause it and leave, and I was really blushing really hard. But that scene made me so uncomfortable, which is basically consisting of, because I am going to do a review of it, it's basically consisting of Terror made this soup for everybody for lunch because he's the ultimate chef, of course. And it was like, of course, it was really good because he's great at cooking, clearly. And I just really liked, I liked to see Nagito cry over it because he said it was the fragment of hope. That just made me laugh really hard, even though he was crying. It was a funny crying. But after they consume this soup, they proceed to find out that the soup was not just any normal soup. Sayonji had poured in a potion thingy into it, and now it was sexy soup. I'm so uncomfortable, I don't want to talk about this, but I'm going to anyways. Which I like. I did laugh at everyone's reactions, most everyone's reactions, like Akane and okay, I wrote down Akane and Owari instead of Akane and Nekomaru on my notes things. Just thought I should point that out. But Akane and Nekomaru acting like a stupid romance anime thing. It was just really weird hearing Romy Park's voice doing all that because of the other characters she has played. And then Ibuki just kind of like animated, flailing around, whatever. Mahiru taking selfies was really funny for some reason. They cut to her because I'm like, everyone's doing all this really messed up shit. And then Mahiru's over there like, don't take selfies, the focus will blur. I laughed really hard at that because she's just too pure. And Terror just being a slightly worse version of Terror, I guess. Chiaki being quiet and being pressed up against the wall, kind of just like, that was great. And then Gundam's reaction, which you can take however you want to take it, because that was the reaction that he had to it. And then Soda, of course, whenever he hears that Sonya is also being affected, tries to go over and do things with her, and Fuyuhiko's like, bruh, stop. Which I thought was really kind of a cute callback to how Fuyuhiko, even though he is a Yakuza, he is still, like, is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. I'm probably butchering a lot of, like, the Japanese names and words because I don't speak Japanese, clearly. But I found it cute that Fuyuhiko, even though he still is clearly being affected by the potion thing, he's like, you need to chill. You call yourself a man trying to do all this with a princess, and yeah. And then there's Peko, of course, going to go over to help Fuyuhiko because she's still devoted. And then Mikan doing sorry, I really hated everything that Mikan said. That just made me want to die because I'm not repeating any of what she said because I am a child of the Lord. but I just really wanted to die, and I was like, okay, this whole scene is funny, but that is like over the top. I really am very uncomfortable. Take a moment, sorry. And then apparently Nagito is just over there like, oh, it feels amazing. And I'm like, I spend hours upon hours of my day cosplaying and role-playing as this character who's just over there. After all their reactions are shown to this soup, Teruteru is like trying to do things with Saionji, and Chiaki just punches the with her Heaven Slaying Dragon Fist, which I thought was so funny. Which is nice. It like whenever she punched him, it like brought me out of like the despair I was feeling over this whole scene. And I also laughed really hard at Teruteru going Taylor Swift, which was another really cool callback to this first trial. Whenever he says Avril Lavigne a bunch, just another callback. I do like all the callbacks to the game and like references to it because I love the games clearly. So then it cuts to after Chiaki passes out after punching Teruteru. It cuts to all the people in the hospital beds, which this is one thing that I actually did notice all by myself, and it probably doesn't mean anything, but I did notice that besides Chiaki being passed out in the hospital bed, that Nagito and Ibuki were also there, which kind of felt similar to the little in chapter 3 whenever they're all sick and they're all in the hospital because they have the bug thing that Monokuma spread out, that Ibuki and Nagito were 2 of the 3 people who were in the hospital affected by it. And Chiaki tells about this game that she played, which I thought was cute. It cuts to another scene. The actual scene that it cuts to is the next day whenever they're all in the classroom and everyone's kind of like groaning and laying all over their desk except for a couple people, and they're like, Chisa, why aren't you affected by it? And she's like, I'm an adult, I've been in situations like this before. And Sonia says like, that must be why I'm not affected too, or something like that. And I thought that was another kind of reference to the game whenever that scene in front of the roller coaster, I think, in one of the chapters, whenever Sonia is talking, whenever Gundam is saying that he needs the I have not breathed in like a minute. But whenever Gundam says that he needs the blood of a virgin, and she's like, oh, well, you can't use mine though. So I just thought that was a reference to another thing of Sonia saying things that surprise Soda and that would not be expected from a princess, but I laughed at that. And so they go on to Chisa volunteering Chiaki to become the class rep, and the class unanimously agreeing on this, which at first I was like, yay, that's so exciting, and then I was like, oh no, that is not exciting whatsoever, because, as you probably already have read and heard and known and whatever, that the student council was like all the thing that happened to lead up to start the tragedy, basically. And so that's pretty much, so now we know how Chiaki is probably going to die, which is in the killing game thingy with the student council and Izuru Kamakura, which would suck so hard because, of course, Hajime is Izuru Kamakura and he would probably be the one who ends up killing Chiaki, which is going to be because we have already been through enough despair, but no one went into Danganronpa expecting to be happy. So after that, the episode pretty much ends after a scene of Chiaki going to invite Hajime to hang out with her. So my sister and my dog are going to join us for the rest of this video because she was going to clean, but it felt awkward having her kind of just listening. I was like trying to film and I was like, who is it? It's like looking off to the side. Like I'm so uncomfortable. I don't want to talk while she's in here. But now she's here and she doesn't watch Danganronpa or it's not into it. So if she provides commentary, it's not going to be okay.
Okay.
I mean, it's okay if you do. It's just not going to be
Good.
relevant.
Educated.
Educated. Thank you. Educated is a good word.
Are you going to introduce Prince?
And this is my dog, Prince. So, after that, it cuts to a scene of Chiaki inviting Hajime to go to the game center with her because, ew, God, your hair.
Literally insane. My puppy got bald!
So then it cuts to a scene of Chiaki and Hajime interacting. I can't talk whenever you are talking, Tamer. So then it cuts to a scene of Chiaki and Hajime talking, and Chiaki invites Hajime to go to the game center with her, which is just it was kind of a cute little interaction to show that Chiaki has realized that she can make friends through video games, as she learned throughout the entire episode. Tamer's gone now, and the dogs are gone, so we're gonna finish this. So after that scene, it shows the ending credits and everything, and it cuts to a scene where a girl who is revealed to be Kuzuryu's little sister, Natsumi, joins the reserve course, and and then it flashes like beginning of Twilight, I think is what it says, and I got really excited because that means that all the events of hi Bentley, it's my other dog Bentley. So this means that the Twilight Syndrome murder case from Chapter 2 is going to be shown and played out in the Danganronpa 2 anime, or not the Danganronpa 2 anime, the Danganronpa 3 anime. Something on. So, that's exciting. So, I don't know if they're going to start talking about the Twilight Syndrome murder case this next upcoming episode, but that would be really cool because that means that all the despair is starting for the despair arc, because it's all been pretty lighthearted and fun, which is good because after last episode we really need some fun. Thank you, I love that. So that's it. That's everything that happens in the episode. So that's just all my opinions and reactions to the episode. So I hope you enjoyed it. And if you prefer making a video to me typing it out, you should tell me because I like making videos and I think it's just fun. So I will see you next time in whatever form we decide to take it in. So see you soon. Bye bye.